Let's talk about Arthur Curry in my DC Cinematic Universe. Arthur was born to the High Queen of Atlantis, Atlana, and her human lover, Thomas Curry. After Atlana was forced to go back to Atlantis for the good of her people, Arthur was left with his father to be raised alone. And for 10 years, he lived a pretty normal childhood. His father told him that his ability to breathe underwater came from the fact that his mother was a mermaid. He didn't quite believe his father, but he never really wanted to question it since it always seemed to make his dad sad when he did. But everything changed when a group of Atlantean assassins leapt out of the ocean one stormy night, slaughtered his father, and tried to kill him. But Arthur was saved by Vulko, the head of the Atlantean Royal Guard, who'd gotten wind of an assassination attempt on the secret bastard son of the High Queen, and so he went to intercept. Unfortunately, Thomas Curry was dead, and now with no family left on the surface, Vulko offered to bring the boy down to Atlantis so he could meet his mother. And Arthur took him up on this invitation. They swam to the city of Poseidonus, and Arthur got to meet his mom. She apologized for what had happened to him, and she let him know that he would be safe there as her son. And he met his older brother, Orm. Orm welcomed his little brother to the kingdom, excited to have a brother. And Orm took his brother under his wing to show him how Atlantis works. And while these two would come to form a brotherly bond and Arthur would learn a lot about the city from his brother, Arthur would experience something his brother never would: bigotry for being half outsider. The kingdom of Atlantis is violently xenophobic. When he came to the city, the fact that he was half human had to be hidden. His name had to be changed. Instead of Arthur, he grew up under the name Orin. Because if it was ever revealed that the High Queen ran to the surface and had a child with a human, Arthur could very well be killed just for existing. And so that was a secret that he, his brother, his mother, and Vulko held on to dear life. As far as anyone was concerned, when Atlana had run away from her abusive husband, she ran, found some other Atlantean man, and had a kid with him. Years would go by and Arthur would grow up in this kingdom and he would come to love it. He would especially come to love and look up to Vulko as a father figure. So much so that when he came of age, Arthur decided to join the Atlantean Royal Guard. Since Arthur himself was a second born to the High Queen, he was out of the running for being king of Atlantis. That role would fall eventually to his brother Orm. But wanting to earn the respect of the people of the kingdom of Atlantis, Arthur decided to strive for the role of head of the Royal Guard. That way he could also serve an important role to the kingdom alongside his brother, and hopefully it would earn the respect of the kingdom, and they would maybe stop treating him badly for being a bastard. And it is during this training to become a Royal Guard where he would meet the apprentice to the High Sorcerer of the Kingdom of Atlantis, Mira. Mira herself is a princess of the kingdom of Zebel and the most powerful sorceress under the water in my DC Cinematic Universe. These two would fall head over heels in love and they would get married. But one day after becoming a Royal Guard, Arthur would be out on the seas doing a regular patrol and he would witness an act of piracy being committed on the surface waters. The Atlantean laws state that he cannot interfere with surface people. But he's a surface person. He grew up there. He has to go back. He has to help these people. And so he breaks all the rules. He swims up and leaps out of the water and he stops the piracy. And he's caught on camera while doing it. He's later reprimanded by Vulko and his mother, but he confronts both of them, stating that he is not going to sit by and do nothing when his people are being attacked and he has the power to stop it. Either accept him for who he is or fuck off. And Vulko and the Queen do accept it. They realize that times are changing above the surface, and maybe it is time for Atlantis to make themselves known to the surface people in a very public way. But that is a notion that doesn't sit well with Orm. This is when we learn of Orm's own bigotry against humanity. He thinks that humans are disgusting life forms who don't deserve to exist. Their kingdom makes up 75% of the planet, and yet they are the ones who live in fear of the surface people, the ones poisoning their kingdom. And to make things worse, his mother, a descendant of Poseidon, had a child with a human? And that is when it's revealed to the audience that Orm was the one behind the assassination attempt on Arthur and his father all those years ago. Using his powers as the High Prince of Atlantis, he ordered a hit on his half-brother and his father. His mother would never figure it out, and his bloodline would remain pure. And now that his brother was getting ideas to reveal themselves to the surface, Orm decided maybe it was time to finally kill his brother. He'd grown rather fond of him over the last decades of Arthur living down there with him, but he didn't love him more than he hated humanity. Unfortunately for Orm, these assassination attempts would be caught. Multiple people would witness them, and they would see Arthur thwart them. Arthur's own respect in the Kingdom of Atlantis would skyrocket because he was stopping these assassination plots, who people believed were targeted at the royal family in general and not just him. And to make things even worse, as Aquaman's own status under the water started to grow, Orm's started to shrink. People started likening Orm to his father, the hated king who had to be killed by Vulko. And meanwhile, Arthur, while yes, still a bastard, was growing more and more into the spitting image of Poseidon, who in the capital city of Poseidonis has a grand statue to him built. And Arthur looks exactly like it, to the point where in my DC Cinematic Universe, the dude playing Aquaman will also be playing Poseidon in flashbacks. And since the role of High King should go to the direct descendant of Poseidon, suddenly of these two brothers, one being the son of the hated former king, and the other being a mystery bastard who looks exactly like Poseidon, the kingdom started thinking he should be the one to take the throne, not Orm, when Atlanna decides to pass it on. Meanwhile, back up on the surface, the tales of the Aquaman are growing. More sightings of this dude stopping sea-based crimes. He stopped acts of piracy, he stopped an oil spill, he stopped the attempted poaching of an endangered species of whale. This dude was getting really famous on land, and that news was being passed down by Atlantean spies back to the Queen, and she was realizing that he was becoming the best tool to reveal the Kingdom of Atlantis to the surface world. And so when Atlanna has a meeting with Vulko, just to discuss the possibility of naming Arthur as the successor to the throne instead of Orm, Orm overhears that, and that's the final straw. He starts open rebellion. Orm throws a rally and reveals to the Kingdom of Atlantis that his brother is half human, and that his mother, the High Queen, has aims to make him the next High King of Atlantis, and this sparks an Atlantean civil war. During this war, Orm takes half the forces of the entire Kingdom of Atlantis and declares war on humanity very publicly. Orm summons a tsunami and attacks and sinks New York City. And so while he is attacking humanity, Arthur has to assemble his own army and attack his brother. We get one big final battle up on the surface set in a sunken New York City, very public, tons of human witnesses, tons of Atlantean witnesses, and these two brothers duke it out for everyone to see. And during this battle, Atlanna is killed by Orm, and he admits that he's doing it because she disgusts him. She lowered herself to have a child with a human. And now with Atlanna dead, he is rightfully the High King of Atlantis, but it was his killing of his mother that turns his soldiers against him. They thought they were doing this for the right reasons, but when he kills the former queen and says that it is purely based on a hatred of humanity, even his soldiers realize they are in the wrong. And so Orm's soldiers side with Arthur. Arthur has to make a decision, and he decides to turn Orm over to human law enforcement. Arthur has their sorcerers unflood the city of New York. He promises that Atlantis will pay for all of the damages, and as a sign of goodwill, he will turn his brother over to the authorities for the punishment that they see fit. And that is how Aquaman becomes publicly revealed to the world and becomes the High King of Atlantis in my DC Cinematic Universe.